Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Pit Lane Yappers. Today, we're going to be recapping the Belgian Grand Prix, aka Spa, as well as talk about some other news. I'm Lex.
I'm Haley.
I'm Reagan.
I'm Mox.
Before we get into any race coverage, a bunch of news came out. As a note, we are filming this on the first day of summer break.
So
What a day it's
Also-
been.
begun.
Happy birthday, Fernando Alonso.
Happy
And
birthday, Max
Marcus-
Futrell.
Happy
Marcus
birthday, Marcus Armstrong!
Lots of birthdays today. Lots of birthdays. But
And the death day.
yeah, I was gonna say
Oh,
it. But
Okay, well,
somebody decided to steal the cake.
well,
So
one of the first kind of uneventful news is, because we were kind of expecting it, is Esteban Ocon to Haas.
mhm.
That was announced first. Haas is going to be the tallest team on the grid.
yeah, he will be joining Ollie Behrman.
Long leg boys.
Ollie, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Honestly, it's gonna make making the cars easier to have two very similar build drivers. And also Haas seems to be on the up and up, so I'm curious to see
Or
how
they
that's
just
gonna
have
look next
a
year.
driver that's willing to almost kill everybody. But
Yeah, but
We'll see.
K-Mag has always wanted to kill people,
true.
and he's never had the car that could help him do that. He's never had the weapon. They've built him the weapon.
Anyways, it's gonna be very exciting. Everyone's like, "Oh, I'm praying for Ollie Behrman." Esteban Ocon's usually nice to his teammates, at first at least. So at least Ollie will get a few races.
First.
I know, everyone's like, oh, he tried to kill his old teammates, and I'm like, I mean, his old teammates were Checo, like,
It'll at least make a very
Watch this
eventful
space.
and memorable.
His old teammate before
memorable-
Pierre was Fernando Alonso. Watch this space.
real actually.
Anyways, the next news is Bruno, whatever the hell his name is.
Famine.
Famine.
Him.
Bruno fam.
Can I tell you? They said in the commentary they were like, Bruno's leaving Alpine. I was like, who's Bruno?
So
So,
this is the
the
second
team principal-
Spa Grand Prix in a row that Alpine has lost their team principal.
A little silly.
Bye, Bruno.
A little bit wild.
I didn't even know that was your name until Sunday. So cheers.
You know him. Every time he gets on, he speaks in like the thickest French accent that everyone just
Can't
tunes out,
understand a
and
word
even
you're
Will
saying.
Buxton goes okay and moves on.
And Will Buxton speaks a bit of French, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, double whammy.
He's so real for that. Then the last piece of news. Carlos Sainz is officially going to Williams for 2025 and beyond. With Alex
Have a moment
Albon.
of silence for Lex.
Don't worry. Don't worry. He's going to IndyCar.
We
He's
don't
gonna.
know that for sure yet.
Okay,
And
we're manifesting. If we just say he's going to IndyCar, he's gonna eventually go to IndyCar. Because we said we're meeting the Williams drivers, and we ended up meeting the Williams drivers. So he's going to IndyCar
Yeah.
And
with
Lex,
Alexander
you know how
Rossi.
much your little juju does.
My
The
spoken
drivers-
manifestation only works on
It
one
only works
person.
on George.
Oh, it does. It only works on George.
It only works on one person.
Mine
unfortunately
doesn't. I'll
so.
be manifesting IndyCar for him.
There you go.
Yeah, as the resident Logan Sargent girly of the universe,
Mm-hmm.
not a good time for me. Well, listen, I'm a Carlos Sainz fan. I'm a Williams fan. I'm happy for the team and I'm happy for Carlos, but I cannot let my disappointment not show that Logan is being dropped from the team.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know his plans yet. I pray to God he's got IndyCar. That's what all the rumors are like linking to. Logan says that doors are open for him from a past interview. So let's hope those doors are still open. Coda is gonna be a different breed of me. If you thought I was bad in Miami with Kevin Magnussen, if something bad happens to Logan Sargent in Circuit of the Americas,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get deported. Oh my God, I'm crying. For
But,
the audience, I've spent the
um,
whole day crying.
She has confirmed.
I was literally driving to Walmart and I got the notification on my Apple Watch and I went, I need to call Lex.
I
like,
didn't go home though.
yeah.
I was
Proud of you.
working-
Yeah, you did.
I
work
worked
the
a
whole
full
day.
shift. Well, I went home a little early, but I worked a full shift.
I will say,
Before
I
we
think
get
it
into,
is.
go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say, I do think it is good news that Logan and his team have not really
agree.
put out any statement yet.
It's
They
going
could
to
very-
shatter me.
And
They-
also, it feels like they're waiting for some
They're
contract
not rushing
to
anything.
Red Bull.
be signed. Logan Sargent's a Red
Hey,
Bull.
you remember that
Bring it
meme
back.
from the last episode?
Oh my god, that's
Anyways,
crazy.
Logan to Red Bull.
I think what I was gonna say, I thought we were moving on, but so I think it's also very good that Williams didn't really say they're replacing Logan Sargent. They just said Carlos Sainz is gonna drive for us. I think it leaves doors open for Logan to still be with Williams in some capacity. I'm wondering if he's talking to people from IndyCar and other like motorsport like areas, but not completely closing the door on Williams yet, because he could be a reserve driver. He could be their third driver. I mean,
They're
Danny
moving
Rick
him up
did it
to
for Red Bull,
Mercedes.
which is also a very interesting thing because everyone said Carlos Sainz to Mercedes. So who are they going to put in that Mercedes seat?
The child.
There's got to be some child labor laws against that.
No, the FIA just made their own labor laws.
If I said actually,
Example A, Max Verstappen.
Sebastian Vettel.
Yeah. So
Oh,
I'm
man.
hoping and
Oh.
and praying for the next silly season news to be Jack Doohan to Alpine.
yeah,
It's going to be really
Yes.
interesting if he isn't going to Alpine, because like who
Jack
else do they
Doohan
have?
to Mercedes.
that's crazy.
Yeah, but like think about the Alpine drivers. Who really do they have?
They would probably just have to pull up a rookie from F2, which would be
Yeah.
dumb.
Paul Aaron.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's
Don't
not really in the talks for anything, though.
I'm
Um,
joking.
I will say they were. I don't know who was watching the qualifying show last week, but
I was tuned in, but doing other things.
that's fair. But Alex Brundle was talking about F2 drivers and Kimi Antonelli and stuff, and he was rooting very hard for Paul Aaron, and he was very confused why Mercedes dropped him so fast to then switch to Kimi Antonelli, and he was like, who is doing worse in the F2 championship than Paul Aaron? And I was like, get him, Alex Brundle, turn it up.
I think Paul Aaron. Okay, so sorry. Not that he's any driver, but he's looking like his bad luck is like Charles Leclerc, where he's in a car that's not very good. He has very good potential, but the team and the car is just not letting him show it.
You know who's got bad luck, Charles Leclerc style? Pepe.
Real?
Yeah.
He actually
Poor
has
guy.
Fernando Alonso bad luck.
Yeah.
He's got his father's bad luck.
He is his father's son.
Yeah.
Like that kid
Literally.
can't catch a break.
No.
Everyone's still in Austria for that podium, but
Oh.
gosh, this
Oh.
boy, I feel
Hey,
so
but
bad
speaking
for
of
him.
Williams, good news. Zach O'Sullivan, he did win the feature race, technically, in Spa.
I
So
would
that's
just like to
great.
say in editing, all of our claps are too quiet, and so it's just silent clap. But yeah, congrats to Zach O'Sullivan.
Yep.
But
And
I think
Jack
that's a
Crawford,
good-
he went third. We're talking
I
about
can't
Williams
clap.
and Americans. There we go.
Is Jack Williams?
No, he's American though.
he's American.
Okay, I was gonna say like no, he's not.
No.
Like, I
He's
know my
damn-
academy. It's
Lex-
not.
No, he's
Lex
damn.
is about to be like, hang on.
No,
Wait a minute.
Aston,
I'm pretty sure I
Aston
see him with
Martin
Aston merch all
owns
the
him, yeah.
time.
Aston Martin
Yeah.
owns him. But yeah, so it was honestly, I feel bad for F2. They got fucked over with the rain, but overall,
Didn't they all?
yeah.
All right. That moves us into FP1,
Mm-hmm.
which it came out that Max is taking the 10 grid penalty because he's changing his power unit.
A
Which
moment
is
we
a
all saw
wild this
coming.
is a wild track to do it on.
Yeah.
I
Last
was really
episode-
expecting like Coda.
Last episode, we were all like, "Yeah, he's there's no way they're gonna do it before the break." And then Rosie's like, "I think they're gonna do it," and they did it.
Mm-hmm.
So
We should always
kudos
trust
to Rosie
Rosie.
on that one. She called it.
But yeah, so he got a 10 grid penalty.
Which opened the door for so much.
But in
Just pure chaos
FP1,
of the
I
weekend.
think personally FP1, Checo going, I have no idea what's going on, sums up
I was
the entire weekend.
Real.
also Max's first radio of the weekend after being told he needs to stop swearing, going, "Hello, what the fuck?" was pretty good. There was some good
The thing is,
radios
it's
in
like-
FP1.
That's so funny to me that the FIA was like, no more swearing, and Max was like, watch me.
Like, try it.
There's a train going by. There's a train going by. I don't know if you guys can hear it.
Oh,
Mhm.
yep.
Oh yeah. Reagan is outside for Wi-Fi, everybody, which is a
Yeah.
wild sentence, but
It's over there. I don't know if you can see it through the trees. It's
Oh, we
over
can.
there.
but
There's an elephant in the room that we have yet to discuss with the results of FP1.
well,
Alexander Albon.
I was gonna go with the cars that were struggling before the.
Oh.
Well,
We'll
come back.
ahead to the
Alex
part.
will be
She
the-
needs good news.
Let's
Yeah,
end with
please.
Alex
Okay.
because
okay.
that's so. Ocon had a car issue. He didn't even finish a lap.
No.
likely a
My
Vanellope.
favorite. That was my favorite radio where they're like, Ocon box the car, and he goes, "Do you want me to stop?" And they're like, "No, box the car." And he goes, "So stop." And they were like, "No, box the car."
But they sounded increasingly more and more worried, and I'm like, I would also just park the car and get out.
Like, if they're yelling at me
Which
to
they
stop
said-
and go in, I'll stop the car.
They said water issue.
Likely, which is hilarious
Likely.
because they had put in a new power unit and engine and everything that morning.
Yeah. Also, wasn't Silverstone when Pierre didn't even get out?
Yeah.
It was a water issue.
Yeah.
Maybe they should try boating.
All
What
I'm
is it?
saying,
What is it called? The boating FP1 or the boating F1? Isn't it just called Formula One? But it's boats.
yeah, I think so. I think it has a very similar name. I'm not. Yeah, it's something dumb. I will say, don't ever use a run-out engine. Apparently.
Yeah. Also, Charles got very angry with Brian because Brian
God.
said something on a fast lap, and Charles was like, "What? I can't hear you, but never speak on a fast lap." Which I will.
Their first
In
fight.
Charles'
Their
defense,
first fight.
I agree.
Honeymoon.
If a
era
driver's
is
pushing,
over.
Oh
if
my
a
God.
driver's pushing, you probably
just shut the fuck up.
shouldn't
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah.
I
He
will
also
say
was
I
hearing
sided with
voices.
Charles. Yep. Likely.
It was
He's
lots
lost
of
his
good
mind.
radio. Yeah.
Also,
no
Daniel
one-
Ricciardo spun.
Yeah.
I
the
did.
end,
Yeah.
He didn't hit the wall, but he's fine.
Yeah.
He went, "Mm."
Oh, we forgot a really important grid penalty.
Oh, I didn't forget. I was still
Oh
counting
yeah.
them.
No.
Okay.
I was still trying to catch up.
All right.
Yeah. Yuki Tsunoda did get
Started in Silverstone.
78.
No,
yeah,
he started in Zandvoort. He said,
Yeah.
Zandvoort,
considering
yeah.
he started in Zandvoort.
Yeah.
And
He
he
did
got
pretty
up
well.
with 68 position.
Woohoo!
Do we even know why? What was the grid penalty for?
He changed like 90% of the car. They
Oh.
like switched out parts all at once.
Likely.
Yeah.
Sounds like a V-carb thing.
They were going to also do Daniels this race, but decided not to. So at some point, he will have.
Oh,
Same.
shoot. V-carb, I beg of you, just do one at a time.
The problem was that, okay, they were going to do it at the same times that both they just called this race a loss, but that would have made Checo the #1 Red Bull on the grid. They were like, we can't do it. So they left Daniel out.
Good. And then I have nothing left except Alex.
Woo, dog. Woo,
Alex
diggity dog.
Albon!
What time was that? It was very early in the morning, so I
Yeah.
was in and out of consciousness, sleep,
It was like
watching
8.
it. Hey, listen, I was also getting ready for work. I was asleep and getting ready for work.
No, I'm saying it was early. That's
Yeah.
early.
But I saw where he finished, and all I could scream about was, "Give me the graphic!
Yeah.
Give me the graphic!"
I remember
I
that
saw like
text.
6 people on the timeline just tagging Lex in it.
I'm like, I need to see the P3 graphic,
Mhm.
please. 'Cause
Yep.
Lord
I
knows when I'll
remember-
see it again.
But I'm glad that this proves Williams has the car.
I've got one of them.
Well,
Well,
The other one's still
They could
probably
have
playing
both.
catch
One
up.
of the cars.
They don't they have equal specs now?
Who knows? Not me.
Who knows? We also didn't know they had a 2023 wing on the back of the car for the first 4 months of racing. So who knows what they're
Sounds
not
like
telling
them.
us.
I think
Sounds
they're the
like
same
them.
spec, but who knows?
I think they are the same spec, at least according to Williams, but it's
Yeah.
Williams.
I love my team. Don't get me wrong.
But oh god.
But oh god.
Yeah.
But good for him. Happy for him. He was above
everyone
both-
except for two people.
both Mercedes,
That's how
which is
third works.
and both Ferraris. So that was good for him.
Yeah.
And he was above
killing
with
it all
Checo.
weekend. Likely.
Not that
Many
that's
such
impressive
cases for a
anymore,
Williams
but
to be.
not that that's impressive anymore, but FP2, Alex unfortunately was not P3, but
No.
McLaren did get a 1-2, so good for the rest of this group chat.
Nope.
Which weren't they within 2/10 of a second of each other,
Mm-hmm.
which
Yeah.
is they've got
Yep.
pretty equal drivers
Yep.
right now.
Yeah. They've got pretty equal pace in the cars, especially at tracks like this.
Speaking of McLaren's, Checo was tattletaling on everything.
Yeah.
He was like, Lando spun out, Lando went out. I was like,
I was like,
It's
oh, maybe if you focus
FP2.
more on your driving.
it's it's
Yeah.
FP2. It
You
doesn't
wouldn't
really
be in
matter all
ninth.
that much. Also, Carlos's radio was funny where they were like, I don't know if it was his engineer, I don't know who it was, but they were like, are you lonely out there? And he goes, yeah, lonely.
Yeah.
No other
Radios were
no other
wild.
explanation, just
Yep.
lonely.
Lonely.
Yeah.
Only through fake tears.
But Mercedes was struggling.
Yeah.
Surprise.
You know who wasn't? The Alpines.
No, can I tell
Every
you,
time I looked
Alpines,
up, Ocon was third.
I wrote Alpine kind of slayed, not Pierre though.
Yeah, it was just Ocon.
Which is so funny because the one that got re-signed to Alpine is Pierre.
Mm-hmm.
Many such
Pierre was
cases.
fighting his
He's the
demons
only
this
employee
weekend.
left.
I will say
It's
the
only
Alpine
him.
livery I kind of loved. However, I wish
That makes one
it
of us.
wasn't the same Ferrari color.
Exactly. I kept thinking it was Ferrari, and I was like, why is it going
Like
so slow?
I thought the
I know
details
Ferrari's
were really
slow, but, like,
cool. I thought
I
the
know
like
Esteban
details were really
Ocon
cool.
was
helmet.
kicking and giggling his kicking his feet and giggling.
I kind of liked that they had matching helmets, even though they hate each other. That was pretty funny. I want to know who, if they told them they had to do that, or if they were like, this would be funny. Because
No, someone definitely
this
told
is
them they
their
had
get
to.
This is their get along shirt.
It's giving her
The get along t-shirt.
Oh,
put that. I'm gonna make that. I'm
say
gonna
that
make
at the
that.
same time.
It's being made.
But also Alex's radio, I don't know if it was Charles or Carlos, because I just said with the Ferrari, so I have no
think it
memory
was
if
He's
it's
Charles.
like, God, this guy's annoying.
yeah, he goes, God, this man's so annoying.
He's so real for that one.
And then I was like, please be Carlos, because if Carlos goes to Williams, that would be a hilarious radio to play next year. And then the announcement came out today, and I was like, oh, I did not mean to do that. But yeah, I thought that radio was funny. And if I was watching the recap, because I write notes and then I don't remember the whole entire thing, so I just watched the recap again, and they were like, Albon's back to his sassy self with his on-track nemesis. And I was like, hang on.
On-track nemesis.
I was like, is that Williams being promoted or Ferrari being demoted?
Demoted.
It's definitely a demotion.
Demoted.
But yeah, FP3
FP what?
rain.
Pierre was third. Yeah, there was rain, so no
This
one
is
got
the
a
one
good
I was
lap.
asleep for.
Same. I
And
didn't wake up for this.
half of the people spun out. I was awake. Don't worry, everybody. I was awake at work. And it was Verstappen, yellow flag, Verstappen spins out, yellow flag, Piastri spins out, yellow flag, Tsunoda spins out. And I was like, what is happening? I was like, I have to just tune in for 2 seconds just to figure out why everyone's spinning out.
Yeah.
And then it was Stroll crashes and red flag.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay. And then when I watched, I'm actually so mad at Aston Martin because every single team brought in their drivers, and Aston Martin went, Lance, we want you to do one more flying lap, to get data for us.
You know Aston Martin always loves
By the way,
off strategy.
Not on intermediates or wet tires. I was like, this is,
man.
Just because he's the owner's son does not mean he's disposable.
No. Have you seen that clip of Max when he's doing that sim racing and his character has slicks on in the rain, and everyone's like, dude, you're on slicks, and he's like, no, I'm not, and they're like, yeah, you are, and then he immediately spins out as soon as it starts. He was like, oh, I was, damn. That was Stroll. He was like,
but also, it's so frustrating to me because listen, as a Fernando Alonso fan, I understand. Literally, Fernando Alonso, every single person who knows Fernando and has been his teammate is like, Fernando, the one flaw he has is he doesn't know what's wrong with the car because he's had such bad cars. He's used to it not working.
Always bad. And everyone's like,
so
no.
like when they go and say like, can you get this data and tell us what's wrong? He's like, I can. I won't know what's going on though. He'll like, just say it's bad.
He said, I'll do the driving, like, you do the analysis.
He's like, I'm not an engineer. I'm a driver. And so they send Lance out because Lance at least does the homework and pretends he knows what he's talking about. And so Lance is like, yeah, I'll do this data. Great. I don't have to talk to people. Send Fernando out to talk to people. I'll sit in the car all day. But then he crashes. It's just so frustrating to him. Like, Aston Martin, can you be a normal team for once? Can you pretend you know what you're doing? Sebastian Vettel left and all of a sudden that green team fell apart.
Speaking of cars not working the way they're supposed to, I think it was FP2 and 3. Daniel was complaining multiple times that there was something wrong with the car, and every time he said it, they were like, we don't see anything. I don't know, man. Like,
my favorite was, I think it was FP2, no, FP3, where he's like, guys, something's really wrong with something in the car. I cannot tell you what it is, but it's not driving correctly. And they go, yeah, well, we don't see anything. He goes, yeah, but I feel it.
Like,
at one point he said like, I'm losing hydraulics and the steering is heavy, and they were like, looks good to us though, like, so stay out.
That's what frustrates me about, like, sometimes that's what frustrates me about the pit wall, because the pit wall is so like by the numbers that like if a driver says something's wrong with my car and they're like, it looks fine, it's
like, bruh, come get in the car. Come take a test
drive. It's not fine.
It
obviously it's
fine,
not fine. Press
fine.
Control Alt Delete, restart the computer, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Like, there's some times where drivers are like, dude, this car is so undrivable. Like last year where Lewis was like, this car is so bad I can't drive it, and Toto comes on from the freaking hospital
Lewis,
and says,
we know the car is bad.
Know the car is bad. Just drive
it. Please drive.
That is such a funny radio. I think about it often.
I get it, but if somebody's saying, I'm losing hydraulics and the steering's super heavy, something's wrong with the car, they're not lying.
Yeah, I will say, Max, I think it was an FP1, was like, in some corners the car is oversteering, and in others it's understeering, and GP got on the radio and went, okay. Like, what?
GP is not over Max's behavior.
No, or when he got on, GP got on and was like, can you tell me the numbers of whatever? And Max went, no, you have to tell me those. And GP went, sorry, Max, wrong radio. Like, what?
Pinnacle of motorsport.
Falling apart.
Oh, Red Bull's the top team, and they can't figure out which button is which.
Their names,
they're labeled. All you gotta do is click.
GP, I love you. However, I do think you need to go to see an eye doctor.
Or did anyone see the cameraman during whatever practice session it was panned over to Christian Horner, and he had his finger on the FIA button, but he wasn't pushing it, but he had it there, and I was like, you little...
He's ready to paddle.
Prepared.
Every time, just beep, 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 beep.
But
Michael!
Also, I will say, they red flagged the session, right? Because everyone was crashing, it was dangerous, it's Spa, of course they're gonna do it. However, you know what they let continue? The poor children karting.
That was so funny. That was
when they started commentating on that
of the karting, and I was like, what happened? It was kids who rented the karts and still wanted to go out in the rain, and so they went out and they were just messing around, and I was like, they were driving pretty well.
Yeah.
For being just messing around.
I could do it.
I had left the room for a second, and I came back to them just like intensely commentating, people karting around the track. Like, what happened?
That
I'm
one
so-
lap where the
can I
kid
just tell you, I'm
overtook and then
so
behind
glad-
the other one spun. I was like,
I'm
whoa.
so glad they commentated it because those kids, you know, their friends are like, dude, they're commentating.
They were
I really
having
hope
so
they
much
had that
fun
recorded
in
or they have like
commentary this
some
weekend.
way. But
Oh my god.
then they like it was like 3 minutes left of the session. They were like, okay, green flag.
Yeah,
one-
okay.
I was like, why?
Everyone
Barely
was like,
anyone
are
went
you
out,
for
right?
real?
But they did wet starts because they were like, this is what's gonna be tomorrow. And Carlos went into the gravel. Just like his father, Fernando Alonso. He sees gravel, he has to go in.
You know who else was hitting the gravel a lot this weekend in all sessions? Just like his father? Oscar Piastri. That kid could not stop going in the gravel.
Yep.
Likely. Sorry, I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean
No.
I feel like gravel is
If there's
a driver's
gravel
worst
in
enemy.
the
Yeah.
track, Oscar will brush it a couple times.
Yeah.
I also
don't
feel
know.
like gravel is just the stupidest thing to put on a racetrack.
I did like Oscar's radio where he was like, you guys should check the floor when I come in. I went skateboarding a little bit.
Yeah.
You're a race winner now. Act like it.
But then it was quali,
Yes.
which was also wet.
Yes.
Very.
Not as
And
wet,
all the
but-
commentators were like, oh, we're going to get a wet race. This is going to be good. They're going to get a lot of driving in. And it was bright and sunny for the race, which thank God. But
yeah.
Q1, I don't know if it was like 3 or 5 minutes in, but Joe impeded Max within like the
Yeah.
first few laps.
He's doing what no one else will do.
Joe's like, I got it, guys. I'm going to
He
be
said,
DNFing
"Don't worry, guys,
anyways. I got it.
I'm gonna be P20 anyway. I'll take one for the team. I'll slow him
He
down.
goes, Yuki, I know you're P60, but
But I'm coming for you. I know. They were fighting over it. I was like, guys, can somebody start?
also Checo, I don't know what happened between the practices and qualifying. I don't know if he got to sit down next to Helmut Marko and he was like, listen here, boy, you're on a little thin ice or what, but he was driving for his life. I was like, this man,
He still almost got out though.
yeah.
Yeah, he almost got knocked out by Bottas, so.
Yeah. I was like, come
But,
on,
like,
Bottas.
I feel
get
like it was
him.
more like I felt like he was more driving a car that he was more comfortable with.
Mhm.
But also, he only ever drives confidently and does well when he's under a pressure situation.
Yeah.
Like him.
Yeah, like
losing
in
his
just
seat.
like
2020.
me.
Why can't he always consistently do
He's
that?
just like me. When we have pressure, we gotta get it
You can
done.
perform. I have a few notes. Most of them unimportant. One of my favorites ones is this track is so fucking long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
My mom was getting mad at that. She was like, how are there only
Oh my
4
gosh.
laps or whatever?
Isn't it the longest track of the
It is.
season?
4.
Mhm.
Reagan, you have the stat? How long it is?
7 kilometers.
We're
Hold on, wait.
American.
I know.
Translate.
4.352 miles.
That was great. I was like, it's like 4 miles or something. Oh, long track. I normally, when it comes to like quality times, I can based off like whoever's the interval time. If they have a lap, I'm like, okay, if there's 5 minutes left, we can get an out lap, we can get a flyer. Come on. And
I
I couldn't
I
gauge
also
it with
feel like-
Spa. I'm like, how many
I feel
minutes do
like-
you need?
Yeah. Like I know that it like a flying lap, they're like, oh, it's like 1:33 or whatever. But I was like, okay, yeah, but if it's not on a flying lap, how long does it take somebody? You're not giving me that time. So if like I was watching Fernando Alonso and I was like, oh my gosh, he has a minute and a half and he's still on a cool down lap. Does that mean he can make it or does that mean he's out?
Yeah.
Like I was so confused. Since we're talking about Red Bull and Checo so much, we do have to note Yuki Tsunoda was knocked out. I mean, he was gonna be P60 anyways,
exactly,
so like
it doesn't even matter. So
I feel
who
people are
cares?
like, "Oh, Tsunoda's out." I'm like, "Yeah, even if he wasn't out, he'd be out anyways."
They probably weren't pushing fully
Yeah.
because of that. Because
They
I
probably
feel
were
like
like,
they
you
were
have
working
Newports
with
in your
Daniel.
car. You have Newports
like,
in your
"Daniel,
car.
what do
Be
you wanna
careful."
do?"
don't waste
We'll
the
do you.
tires. Don't. Yeah.
A Red Bull, I don't know who. I had Max, but then people were saying it was Checo, so I don't know. One of them impeded Logan heavily
was
when he was
Checo.
trying to do his flying
Yeah,
lap.
it was Checo.
It said 11 on the back of the car. I zoomed in.
I saw the Red Bull and I said, I don't like you. My note,
But like,
the note that I sent to the group chat of what I had written, still there.
Yeah. Yep.
It's
I will
going-
say I was shocked to see both Haas out in Q1 because they've been
Thank God it's back to
yeah,
normal.
but they've been doing pretty good.
at the beginning of the session, on the first set of flying laps, Hulkenberg had put it above, like he was P1
Yeah, he
Mhm.
above
he went
Lando, and
to
I'm like,
top of
brother,
times,
what are you?
yeah.
And he
What
just
are we
went,
doing?
I was like, get out! What are you
Yeah.
doing out there?
Boom.
Yeah.
yeah,
I will also
likely.
say, after K-Mag getting replaced by Ocon, I was like, oh Lord, he's gonna be a force to be reckoned with, because like
Guess not.
he's really just driving. He knows he's never gonna get a seat. So I was like, Lord, whoever's next to K-Mag, please be Checo. Like somebody who doesn't need to drive.
You know who it was? You know who ended up starting
Yeah.
next to him?
Yeah.
God damn
We'll
it.
get there. So Q2.
Damn it.
Wait, can we
Oh,
mention the polar bear in Q1? Gasly P2?
I have Pierre
Oh.
with a bunch of question marks. I forgot what it was about.
yeah.
He was
yeah.
P2.
I literally
Yeah.
my note says Pierre. I don't want to talk about it. So I went, okay, I'm not gonna
Also-
talk about it.
Also, that Carlos didn't set a time until like halfway through. Brother was just
Likely.
hanging out,
Very
just
Fernando Alonso of him.
chilling out in the knockout zone for so long, stressing
I
me
feel
out.
like this qualifying especially was really stressful with like last lap, last second, like jumps out of the elimination zone. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like Carlos is always like that though.
Yeah.
Like I don't think this is a
But
different.
it's not such a big track, so
It's very
get
we
out there.
can't gauge if basically he had one lap to do it.
yep.
But then Q2,
Alex made it through.
Alex
I
made that was
know.
and
I
he
had-
went to the top of the times at the beginning. He was also
Yeah,
the first one
he
out.
was
I was
the
gonna
one.
say he was the first one out, but I'll take it.
we don't have to mention that. I literally have Albon into Q3, and then I have Stroll out. I don't want to talk about it.
Sure. You know what I will say is, I was talking to my mom about this while we were watching, and I think if someone already has a grid penalty that they have to take, they should not get out of the qualifying session or they should not continue on to the qualifying session that they would not even be able to place in. So Max should not have gotten into Q3. They should have. What's happening behind Reagan?
What are we on the
About to get
grass?
kidnapped on camera.
They were
But
cleaning up the trash of the bathroom right here.
I think that after Q2, they should have automatically put Max down at 11th, and Alex should have stayed in, or whoever was in 11th at the time. Obviously, because I love Alex, I would wanted him to go on to Q3,
Well,
but
he did.
he got out.
He was 11.
He was 11th.
Oh,
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, actually, Max was
Yeah.
11th, so they should have swapped them.
I agree.
And I think that that's how it should be. If someone is
At
taking a
least-
grid penalty,
Like for like somebody like Alpine or V-Carb or somebody like Haas, but like last year Haas, not this year Haas, but like somebody who was like genuinely always at the bottom. I don't think that rule needs to be implemented, but I think like somebody like Mercedes, McLaren, Red Bull,
Mhm.
somebody like that that's consistently into Q3
mhm.
shouldn't be able to go into Q3 if they're, gonna be P11
Especially-
anyways.
because it messes
I
up
just saw the raindrop.
it messes up all of the positions in Q3. Like now there's this weird like, okay, obviously this is skipping ahead to Q3, but like did Charles actually get pole? He didn't get the fastest time, but also he inherited pole. So like then it messes with the records and it messes with all of this stuff. And I think it would just be easier if they were like, you know what? If you can't start higher than 15th, you're not going into the next,
I
think
get
it
that they
makes more
have to.
sense.
I get that they have to compete. They have to compete in quali to get into the race, which is why Aston Martin was really rushing with Strolls. Which is why everyone's like, it's really impressive that Stroll even made it into Q2 because his car was hanging on by Scotch tape. I don't know if anybody
Yeah.
caught that, but there was
They
literal
finished it like
Scotch tape.
moments before.
But like, I think that first of all, I think like if there was a massive crash, like in a sprint or something like that, they should be able to race if they fix the car, but not for quali, but for the race, but just
Mhm.
P20, because I think it's very unfair to implement 2 races in a weekend and then be like, yeah, you have to fix the car in 30 minutes.
Right.
Like, but I also think like something like Max was obviously going to be P11. He had to compete and see where he was. But I think someone like Yuki, who's P60 and in Zandvoort, shouldn't have to
So
race
funny.
and waste tires because he's obviously going to be the back of the grid.
Yeah. And that should be, for things like that, it should be an option. Like, if they want them to get out there just to get, extra data or whatever, fine, they could send Yuki out. If he gets into Q3 somehow,
P1?
Perfect. But you know what? He's not starting there.
What if, like, Yuki got all the way to Q3 and he got P1? Like,
yeah.
Not that he would have, but...
But, like, why? Like, why...
Yeah. Why risk it, especially on Spa?
Especially because, again, it is really shitty for the people who get knocked out in Q2, like Alex, where he was having a very steady pace, and he was barely off. I don't even remember what his time was, but he was barely off.
It was 200?
Yeah, he was 200ths of a, So, like, he should have gotten into Q3 if they would have.
Alex Albon will always be rooting for you.
Yep.
Yes.
But, we can move on to Q3 because that's a good leeway. I have Ocon cooking, which was crazy.
And mine said, I think this was a no from Q2, but it was Ocon purple S1? Bunch of question marks.
Yep.
He said, Ryan Reynolds is rooting for me personally this weekend.
He said, this car
gotta
is
drive.
Superhuman.
But I also think, like, that's something that I've noticed with Ocon is Ocon's actually a very good driver. Checo, P3.
He was cooking. Checo was cooking.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, Red Bull needs to tell him he's about to be fired more often.
That's like, emotional distress.
Every race could be your last.
It's like you're on a thin ice.
Like, I feel like that's what they told Alex and Pierre, so why are they not telling Checo? Anyways.
For my Carlando girlies, what were they doing? Making me so much stress the entire qualifying session. But what were they doing?
I don't know.
I don't know if this was true, but somebody on F1 TV, I don't know who it was, but one of the commentators said Lando seemed to have a throttle issue, and I don't know if it was just his speed or they know something from McLaren, but I wrote that down.
I don't exactly remember what he said was the issue, but I do remember him radioing at some point and just saying that, like, the car felt bad.
What is with the cars feeling bad this past weekend?
I think Carlos was really fighting the car. I think he said something about the rears being...
Okay, that's not shocking from Ferrari. It is shocking a little bit from McLaren with how fast their car has been.
Lando was having an off weekend for sure.
He was. Also, McLaren set their car up for the dry race, so they were running dry specs, whereas obviously qualifying was wet. And so that kind of sucks. Also, Red Bull kind of went off with their downforce setup. They really, like, perfected it this weekend for this track and everything.
I also feel like Red Bull, at least by an engineering spec, not by a driver spec, knows that McLaren, Mercedes, those are the only two that are catching up. Ferrari, you're at a standstill. But, like, McLaren and Mercedes are catching up. And I don't think they're as intimidated by McLaren because they don't have that, like, huge rivalry like they have with Mercedes, but they really don't want Mercedes beating them. So I feel like they're trying to perfect their car to not beat Mercedes because in the race, literally they went into Max and said, I want you to beat George. While Oscar and Lando were the two in front of him immediately, which is crazy. Because I was like, I think Oscar and Lando are letting you buy that quickly. Like, but okay. But I feel like, I feel like Red Bull's more intimidated by Mercedes than McLaren when they should be more intimidated by McLaren than Mercedes.
Yeah. I will say, not shocked to see Carlos up there, but Leclerc felt back in his usual form for qualifying.
Unfortunately. Sorry, Rosie's not here, but unfortunately. Charles Pole, which there was a little fact, I don't think I wrote this down right because this doesn't seem right, but they said it was the 24th time in his career. Is that correct?
25th pole.
That 25th
His
pole.
25th pole.
Also, pole was not actually the best place to start this
Yeah.
race.
Mhm.
So,
He too was.
not great.
Checo, what was going on? You had it handed to you on a silver platter, and you still couldn't win. I'm sorry, it's so frustrating me. It's so frustrating. I could go off about Checo right now. But anyways,
I do
Oh,
have another
turn
fun
this-
fact about qualifying.
Go off. Go off.
Both
Get it.
I'm gonna say both times that Max has won in Belgium because 2021 was, we don't count that. It's fine.
A gifted win.
But it's the race that never was. But both times he's won in Belgium have been from outside of the top 5, where a Ferrari driver has inherited the pole position because of a penalty that he had.
well,
That's
So,
wild.
he
Actually,
could have
lost
made
that
it 3 for
record.
3 this year, but he did
lost that
not.
That's
record.
wild.
Unfortunate. Which I actually think is really funny because I think it was Crofty who said it was like, it was his grid walk, and he's like, Max Verstappen starting from P11, and he turns back to the camera and he goes, where he's never won from before, and he kept walking. And I was like,
Gagged him.
this man is not a Max boy.
He said,
Like,
anyway.
he forgot he was on camera. He was like, I just have to give this little Max tidbit right now because I don't like him.
Oh my god. Not the little over the shoulder.
But that goes on to the race.
Yeah. Honestly, until all the pit stops were stressing me out.
Same.
There was a car
However,
in the
can
pit
we pretty
every
boring.
other
Can we
lap.
do the
I was
start?
so confused.
Yeah.
Checo really kind of did well in the start,
Yeah, it was a pretty good start. Yeah.
and then he lost it immediately. But
Yeah.
he did pretty well to start, which is something he can't say for most other races he's been in this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, who didn't have a good start?
Oh,
Listen, Oscar start
Damn.
though was
Damn.
pretty great. Which
Yes, Oscar's was great.
but it wasn't just Lando who got veered off. It was also George.
Yeah, it was kind of everyone on that side, like past the first row. Everyone on that side went
Like
wide.
turn 1, they
It was
kind of
weird.
got
Yeah.
middle of turn 1. It wasn't really turn 1, but
I think
was
everyone was
still
a little
turning.
afraid of Checo, and they were like, "Let's hang back a little." I don't.
Give him
also
some
I
They were like,
know you
"Between
guys don't
Checo
like
and
him.
Leclerc."
I know you guys don't like him, but George did really well on that start.
Yeah, he did. George always has really good starts, honestly.
I think George's starts need to be studied because he's very good at starting
yeah.
P1, P2, anywhere he starts. He
Uh,
was very good.
my mom and I were talking about this, and we were like, I think it takes a certain kind of driver. Like certain drivers they just have bad starts because they don't have that like fearlessness. George and Oscar and Max, stuff like that, they're very much like that meme that's like, I turn now, good luck for everybody else. Like very much just like, I'm hitting the gas, I'm going. If I hit someone, I hit someone. Whereas
Carlos is also very good at the start, but
Yeah.
he was not when he started, where I think George was very good and Max was very good when he started. Oscar is
like,
good, but he's not
Lando-
great yet.
Yeah. Lando, I think, is a little timid in his start. And honestly, I feel like in the last couple of years, Lewis has gotten a little timid in his starts where he just goes way too wide all the time.
I feel like Lewis's is he's getting older and he doesn't have as much of a reaction time as he used to from the start of the grid. Sorry.
Damn.
Damn.
But I think Lando's is more, he's been hit so many times on the grid from the start. He's like, how do I just get out of this turn 1?
Also,
Like-
I'm gonna be honest that he's used to starting in the midfield or the back. The McLaren has sucked
He's like,
since
Max is too close to me.
He's not used to driving into clean air. He's used to bracing for people around him, and I think he needs to work on getting used to that. And kind of like last year where his quali
Oscar
laps
didn't have
the
to
best.
change, like switch.
Yeah. And he worked on them, and now Lando's like a beast at qualifying. So
I also think Lando is not a good starter on pole, and that's not saying he doesn't deserve to win, but I'm saying he just does better in P2 and P3. I don't know if it's because I don't know if it's because he's watching the cars in front of him go, or it's a better view of where he's going, but like I notice he does a lot better at a start when he's in like P2 and P3 than P1.
Yeah. I think when he's at the start, he's way too focused on his mirrors and people behind him that he's not just gunning
me too. I would be the same way. I'd be like, where is Max Verstappen? Like Oscar is saying, it's a very different feeling having Max Verstappen in a Red Bull. I'd be like, where is he?
That was us during in the F1 arcade. We're just like, where is he?
Guys, when I kept switching my view to the back because I was in front in Monza, and I go, Verstappen's right behind me. How close is he?
When the arrow would pop up, like 0.5 or whatever behind you, I was like,
I'm like, okay.
It's terrifying. Like, and that was a simulation. Everybody, I could not imagine being in an actual car.
No.
But I also noticed, though, speaking of Lando and George, the only people really fighting Max for, like, not really giving him the, okay, just pass, was Lando and George.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, is a big reason why Max didn't win.
Too.
I think Lando and George, though, was the big reason why Max didn't win. Oscar helped a little bit, but I think George and Lando were the main.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. The train was the best timing.
So funny.
We're talking about Max coming right up behind the train.
He is the train. Yeah. No, I will say though, Oscar had some moments where he was up against Max. And he was stressing me out because he was being really aggressive. And I was like, he will take you out, Oscar.
I'm like,
also, can I tell you,
it made me think of that quote from him of where he was like, he hasn't raced me yet. He doesn't know how I race.
He also had an interview. He goes, just because I'm quiet doesn't mean I'm timid. That was him today. And I went, trust me, we know. But there was was this as many races, like as many leaders as we've had in the past 2 years of racing? Like different leaders?
Don't know. I feel like there's some race fairly recently that had a lot, but I can't remember.
But yeah, it was like Charles, Lewis, Carlos, George,
Oscar, Lando.
I think
Max.
But that was quick. Checo was quick, like
yeah.
But yeah, I was like, oh, Lewis is gonna win. Oh, Lando's gonna win. Oh,
yeah,
Oscar's gonna win. I was like, Oscar can win. Oh, George.
I know the commentators on F1 TV kept trying to call. They were like, well, after this pit stop, that leaves Oscar at a net P3, and that leaves so and so at a net P6, and they were like, wait, no, now it's changed. Now it's
also kept saying at the end, they were like, Hamilton net P1, he's gonna be the winner, and then George was like, actually, I'm not pitting, guys.
He was like, what if I didn't pit?
Like, this is my issue with Lewis Hamilton fans, was they were like, why aren't they pitting George? Why aren't they pitting George? And I was like, lap like 22, he went, I'm going for a one-stopper.
Yeah, I'm like, did you watch the race?
He wasn't even the only one to do a one-stopper. Fernando did a one, right?
Fernando Alonso! I have a fun fact about that.
Carlos tried to do a one-stopper, but the team shut him down.
He wanted to, yeah.
Red team, you're still on the list.
Oh, yeah.
But can we talk about pit stops for a second? And Lewis Hamilton doing the second pit stop, and the cameraman went, phew!
Again?
Yeah, that gave me up.
Yeah.
I love when so Oscar almost committing murder.
Oh, that poor front jack guy.
My dad goes, they need to put a Hans device on the jack people.
Literally.
He got whiplash from that, bro.
I did get a fun fact about pit stops. Not to steal your thunder, Reagan.
Yeah, I was gonna say taking my job. Okay.
But would everyone like to guess what team got a 1.9 second pit stop, matching Red Bull's record for this season?
It wasn't the Oscars.
Wait, I wrote that down.
Nope.
Williams.
Nope.
Alpine.
I wrote it down. Hold on.
Sauber.
Oh,
Sauber got a 1.9.
Guys, they figured it out.
Pit stop?
Halfway through the season.
Yep. Their second pit stop.
Did I see the wrong graphic? I could have sworn that I saw that McLaren had the fastest pit stop. Yes.
Well, they may have had the fastest, but the 1.9 matches Red Bull's record of the season.
They figured it out.
Yep.
Somebody
Finally.
tell Bahrain, Sauber that they could do it.
But
Yep. I took a screenshot of their tweet because I was like, this is not real.
I need to say this as the resident George girl. He drove beautifully.
Yeah, he did.
He drove an amazing race. He decided he was going to do his own strategy. He goes, we're doing one stop. Also, Mercedes told Lewis Hamilton, go ahead and fight.
Yep.
They didn't say team orders, which, by the way, which is a little sketch. I personally would have put the fresher tires in front, knowing Oscar was right behind and probably was faster on newer, fresher tires, and done the Singapore 23 thing and towed my teammate to the
I think they did
finish.
explain it, though, that the reason they, like, gambled with George is because they figured out that either A, he wins, or if Lewis does pass him, the furthest down they would go is P5. So I think they were just like, let's gamble.
I personally would take the double points, but double massive points. But Mercedes, count your days. I might be a George fan. I am not a Mercedes fan. But
I will say I was kind of annoyed because I don't know if it was the Mercedes pit wall did not explain to Lewis that George decided his own strategy mid-race or what, but all of his post-race interviews were making me very mad because he was clearly very upset and trying to blame the team and George and saying basically that they were plotting against him. And it's like, no, George took the data he had mid-race and said, listen, I'm going for a one-stop.
I get being mad at the team.
Yeah.
I get it. Also, especially Mercedes, how they're treating Lewis. I, too, would be mad. However, George has never done anything to backstab Lewis. He has said since day one in Williams, he's like, the driver I want to be a teammate with and I respect the most on the grid is Lewis Hamilton. Like, which kind of ticked me off because in the cool down room, like, first of all, George went to congratulate Lewis and he walked right by. Right by. And I was like, oh, this is so annoying to me. Could you not just be a little bit more classy?
Yeah. It was very
to your
much
teammate.
like...
You didn't have to go to the team. To your teammate. And, like, it's just frustrating. And also, like, it was very frustrating because Lewis was on the radio and he's like, why won't he let me pass? And they were like, Lewis, we're letting you fight. And he goes, yeah, but I have the fresher tires. And I was like, they're letting you fight. And then George won for a solid 45 minutes.
Yeah, I think that it was upsetting to see Lewis react that way, especially because he had given such an eloquent statement about Lando earlier in the weekend, saying that, you know, I remember those days. I remember being 24. I remember, you know, being upset and letting these things get to my head. And he's like, you know, he's going to grow. He's going to work on his own mental health. He's like, I'm in a much better place. And it feels like he immediately reverted back to that. And it's like, Lewis, it's not 2016
and also,
anymore.
Then, like, the way George congratulated Lewis
was still so
it was
generous.
Switched. Yeah.
Yep. It's very upsetting.
And, like, also...
And that Lewis left immediately after, knowing that they were investigating. And didn't wait.
First of all, he left on a scooter.
Upsetting.
What in the Fernando Alonso? Second of all, he was in overalls, and I was like, okay, and with a little teeny tiny scooter, and I was like, who is this child? And overalls, too big of boots, and a little kid's scooter. Like, what? Second of all, like, even if you didn't win, why weren't you celebrating P2?
Yeah.
That is so many points. And that's double points for the team in the Constructors' Championship. You got 1-2, which is, like, the most points those teams could get. Like, that's so annoying to me. And then, like, George in the cool-down room didn't even attempt to talk to Lewis. Like, George knew, but, like, I was
you
just
could
like,
tell Oscar was nervous.
Oscar,
he
was
trying to fill the space.
He was
like,
room.
His little bottle, and he was going, he was so scared to turn fully to talk to George.
Yeah. But he
Also,
was like, so, the tires, huh?
Yeah.
The fact that I think they said it was their Mercedes first 1-2 since Sao Paulo 2022.
Yeah.
And, like, there was just, like, they were not.
However, let's talk about the disqualification of George Russell. Because I'm mad. Listen, I understand that
1.5,
weight, which is 1.5 kilograms. Really, there's no explanation. However, Ruth, who, if anybody doesn't know that, is Sebastian Vettel's old race strategist, was asked in the post-race interview somewhere, and she's like, logically, it could actually make sense. They took this much fuel out. So if they took that much fuel out, really the degradation on the tires would literally just need to be 0.5 on all four tires, and it would explain the weight. And
the explanation I saw was that it was because the tires were, obviously they did a one stop, so the tires were degging a lot more. So he was having to push more, so then he used more fuel. And so then the added of the less fuel at the end and the tires being like centimeters smaller and lighter added together to be that.
And that was
1.5.
Mercedes' argument. And the FI was like, okay, yeah, whatever. We're still disqualifying you. But what frustrates me is that George drove a beautiful race. He did his own strategy, and he kept his 7-time world champion teammate, who was in DRS zone, very close to passing him behind him. And like, it wasn't his fault. And I know, like, oh, it's not his fault, it's the team's. But like, if I feel like the team should have fought a little bit harder.
I think
it does
like,
suck, obviously, because he did drive.
I get
really
why he did it. Like, there's really no explanation.
But
I'm not.
But in the end, it wasn't like a race incident that caused him to be underweight. Like, it was their strategy, so there wasn't really any avoiding it. So I feel like they can't really argue.
People now are saying, this is ridiculous. I do not believe this, but people are saying like, oh, first it was a water issue, that it was not enough fuel. Now it's this, like, and Toto didn't celebrate when George won. Like, this is such sabotage. And I was like, no, I will say it is the team's fault. His car was underweight. It's not George's. However, it is not sabotage. It's a race. It's a sport. Things happen.
Yeah.
However, it's very upsetting that it was George's third time to win and he got it taken away by a teammate who wasn't very happy for him at the time. I will say,
just can't imagine his high to low. Like, he was so excited.
Carmen's stories.
Like, yeah.
I will say though, Lewis came on to Instagram and was like, glad for P2, gutted it's the way, P1, gutted that it's the way how I got it. Like,
see, the only thing that bothered me about that was that the other option was him taking it on track. And would you really want to take the win? Me personally, being an empath, I would not want to take the race win on the last lap from my teammate who did a one stop and pushed his ass for 44 laps. I wouldn't.
This is why you and I would not succeed in this sport.
No. This is why I don't do sports anymore.
Why couldn't they investigate shit in Silverstone?
Yeah.
Boils my blood. Boils my blood. They didn't investigate anything. I was praying to God for them to start checking floors.
Can I say that something that was kind of funny is Christian Horner was so mad at McLaren. I mean, at Mercedes for like 4 years, because they're like, he's like, they have an illegal car, and like nothing's come out of it. They finally have an illegal like underweight car, and he's going, investigate McLaren. Like, the first time he's not telling them to investigate Mercedes. It's a valid reason. It was so sad for me. I'm like, no, I literally was like, I'm gonna go work out, like I am on a high. And then I got to the workout place and it was like, George Russell might be disqualified. And I was like, huh?
Yeah.
But that was the last thing I saw before I lost signal. I was like, I was literally like so close to like losing signal, and it was like George Russell is going to be investigated and might be disqualified. I was like, can you do it fast so I can figure it out? And then, like, I lost signal.
It took them
and it came back and it was like George Russell disqualified, and I was like,
Did anyone else see the fun little tidbit about the last time a car got disqualified for a weight issue?
I did, but I don't remember it.
It happened in 2006. It was 19 days before Kimi Antonelli was born.
Oh, yeah. History repeats itself.
Oh God.
Now he's going into the
And
Mercedes
Kimmy was
seat.
there watching the podium.
Yeah, that was a jump scare.
You know who should have been there? Mick. Anyways, I will say.
You know who was there?
Who's in the back of the
Fred
garage?
Fred Bestie in the very back. Just this much of him you could see.
You guys, your text going besties. I will say though, the podium, they went, Oscar's dad is here, and they panned to Mark Webber.
I wish that I was recording when they panned over.
I got it.
I
got the video.
Because
I got it.
Didn't.
You weren't ready.
I was recording myself because I didn't
Oh.
see you guys texts and you were ahead of me. And so I opened my phone and I see you guys saying Mark, and I look up and I see Mark Webber on the screen, and I literally went. I was like,
you never get the parents of
was
the
looking
McLaren
down.
boys. Right. They always say Lando's dad is Oscar's parents, like,
yeah.
and vice versa. Like, they could never get the McLaren boys' family right. I feel so bad for them.
They need like a chart.
I was looking down when they showed Mark, and both my parents just go, Mark Webber! And I was like, what?
I will
He's
also
never
say, though,
again.
I have to say it, because Rosie's not here, as president of 1681 Nation, George's disqualification got
It was the worst
Oscar
podium.
and Charles on the podium.
The most cursed podium for all of F1 Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh. Can I just say also about the disqualification? It became a little fun fact after George got disqualified. Fernando Alonso is the only driver on the grid who scored points and did a one-stop race.
Oh.
People call him washed, but he can still drive.
He can
He's just in a
benefit
bad
when George-
car. He's just in a tractor.
Oh,
He's in a John Deere,
no.
everybody, but he can
No.
still drive.
Oh no. We did get a doint, a singular.
My brain went, Jack Doohan? I was like, he's not in the car yet. What do you mean a doint?
Wait, is his next year gonna be a joint?
Oh, guys, next year Jack Doohan's on the grid. We've got 3 Aussies.
We got yeah.
Yeah.
Oscar,
Yeah.
Jack, Daniel.
Liam
because I am
Lawson is New
still.
Zealand.
That's what I was
Got
like, wait
you.
a minute. Give me
By the way,
Joey.
that's all I have for the race weekend.
I want to talk a little bit about our friends at F1 TV.
Uh-oh.
We didn't have one of our favorites, friend of the pod, Miss Laura Winter.
But she's
But
at the Olympics.
She's at the Olympics.
And she
commentating
Doing
for
her
Yeah.
swimming.
second favorite
that
sport,
woman, that man.
swimming.
Oh, yeah, and she absolutely tore that one man down. God
Yup.
bless.
He's like, you
She
should
said
stick to F1,
queen,
and she goes,
queen.
"Oh my gosh, thanks so much."
Like that's a
I'm
great
watching the
opinion.
Olympics from the Olympics. You're watching it at home.
Like womp womp.
I love when
queen.
women.
Yeah, I
Just-
love when women.
I love
love
when
women.
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 But I will just like to say my favorite genre of women is when they snap back
Shut
at a
down a
man,
man.
but
I love
so royally kind that the man actually
Mhm.
feels bad. And I feel like Laura is the queen of that.
I think all men should feel bad always.
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct. Speaking of men feeling bad, I was hoping and praying for Jack Doohan in the post show. Guess who I got?
Instead, we got a
fit apology.
My voice note, just pure pain.
Can I just tell you your voice note and then Haley's text, we got a Fittipaldi, and she goes, "Oh, you already know."
All I
I was
wanted was Jack
mad.
Doohan.
I was so mad, bro. He didn't even have to say a word. As soon as I switched it over, I hit mute.
That's me with
was
Zach
like,
Brown. I'm not
I
gonna
don't
lie.
need it.
Sorry, everybody. That is
I
me
have
with Zach
nothing-
Brown.
I would like everyone to know I have nothing against him specifically. It's just any Fittipaldi.
For the
I don't need to hear
namesake.
from him. I don't need to hear from him.
I just
Any of them.
wanted Jack Doohan, man. Anything else?
Uh,
Reagan, you survived the storm.
Yeah.
I did. I was getting spit on like the whole time, but
Oh.
it never actually started raining. It's fine.
Yeah, so honestly, crazy weekend overall, but
Crazy
kinda-
day for me. This was a busy.
Yeah.
Today was a busy
Crazy
year for
weekend,
me.
Crazy Monday.
Yep.
And it's day 1 of the summer break.
Silly
Yep.
season has only just begun because
And we
now
still
that
have some
Carlos signed,
seats.
has signed,
Everything's gonna start falling into place.
because everyone was just waiting on where he was going.
Yep.
So we're gonna
Yep.
get a Bottas signing somewhere, maybe. Zhou, who knows? Any rookies? Anyone being brought in?
Hey, what are the
Who
seats
knows?
left? There's 4 seats left, right?
It's
Merc,
Merc,
Sauber,
Sauber,
Alpine.
Alpine.
B-carb.
Yeah.
Yeah. They haven't.
Daniel
re-signed
Ricciardo, I'm
Daniel.
rooting for you. I'm rooting for you. I really think they're not signing Daniel because they're like, okay, we really need to see how Checo does, and
They're like, nobody move.
they're also
Nobody
like,
spook him.
we
It's this
know
limbo.
Mexico is Checo's home, and we might want him to race at his home. Merc, I think, is going to Antonelli,
That's upsetting.
unfortunately.
Mm.
Alpine, honestly, don't know.
Jack! You know the little Japanese baby going, George! It's gonna be me with Jack
That's gonna
doing.
be you.
Me and Jack doing. Trust. Just, Jack!
I think Alpine, it's going to be an already Alpine driver, so it's either Jack or Mick. And I don't know if
happy with
Mick's
either,
going to
but
want
I
to be in
want
an F1 car
Yeah.
for Alpine.
I don't think so. I think if he goes back to F1, it would have to be with Merc.
Someone
Yeah.
give him the goddamn seat. Torger!
Guys, can I
Stop
tell you,
looking
if
at the child!
I get a Russell Schumacher lineup, I'm going to be the most annoying person in the world. I'm going to be the most annoying person in the world. You think I'm annoying now.
I just want good things for Fred Vesti.
Real.
Whatever that may be.
Which
we get
I don't
Fred
understand
and
why he's
Logan
not,
into
like, why
Indy?
is Kimi Antonelli being viewed for Merc, but not Fred Vesti?
Because Toto's trying to replicate the Max
Max.
Verstappen project.
Yeah, but can I just tell you, Kimi Antonelli is not Max Verstappen. Lex, I'm so sorry. But the fact that, I have to say it, that when they were playing Carlos's video at Williams and they were like, we couldn't even hear it because everyone was cheering so loud.
I already
like,
cried about this.
Carlos is finally getting a team that loves him again.
McLaren
Isn't
again.
officially
I was
on
like,
the team anymore. Not anymore, yet. And they love him. Thank God. Ferrari, count your days.
I love how Ferrari was like, and here's a quote from Fred Vasseur. No one asked for it.
Yeah,
No one cares. I would like to end this with Mark Webber's favorite time of being at Red Bull, which was when he had to share a shower with David Coulthard every weekend, and they had to shower at the same time together.
That's his face. He's the cat
Every
this
time.
week.
Hearing
Every
the footsteps
time.
of someone. Hearing the footsteps of someone. You know the rest of that. If you know the rest of that, you know it. Hearing the footsteps of someone.
Hate
Hold
mail.
on, I have to end it. I have to end it on Sebastian Vettel, everybody.
His bike.
Him on his fucking
Sebastian Vettel, in 8 hours and 44 minutes, completed a bike race under his wife's maiden name and just added an S. And
Which
he
honestly
crossed the
kinda
finish
hot.
line with 2 peace signs. And he is
He
my
did.
favorite F1 rookie. Sebastian.
His socks were so
I don't know how to
dirty.
say it. Sebastian
None of my business.
something.
None of my
Look it
business.
up. I don't know how to pronounce German, so
Mm-mm.
I'm not even gonna attempt it.
You want me to
Nope, none of
call
my
a German
business.
and ask?
But congratulations to cross country bike racer Sebastian.
Who came in
S.
44th place.
It's okay. He's learning.
can't
He's a
go-
rookie.
I can't.
He's a
I can't-
rookie. He's a rookie. He's just learning.
I can't make fun.
He's
I can't
only
ride a
been
bike,
doing
so
this
he's
for
got
2
one on
fucking
me.
days.
Give him a chance.
I want to know what else he's been doing under that name.
I'm
Has he
gonna
been
look him up right
competing
now.
secretly for years?
Absolutely. Put him in Tour de France next.
I would like to throw a shout out to Leah Block, who now has to carry the
Yep.
USA.
Oh
You-
man, why would you
hey.
bring it up?
Also,
I'm
the fact they
sorry.
did this, during the Olympics, kind of sick.
They're just mad that we're beating them.
They did it on a Monday. They did it on the first day of break. They did. Carlos Sainz announced his contract the day after. When asked on F1 TV when he would announce it, he said, "I'm gonna take my time." Fucker.
He's so annoying.
Everything's
so
a fucking
obnoxious.
joke
I
to
love
him.
him. I love him, but this kind of ticked me off.
No, he's pissing me off. I'm glad he
But
finally
I
picked
also
a
think
spot, though.
but I will say I
'Cause-
think he didn't want to do it when Logan was still at Williams because he knew Logan probably didn't know all of it. And he didn't want Logan in a toxic team environment. After finding out that announcement, like Carlos Sainz was with Ferrari.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we can all track this back to Fred Vasseur.
So everyone, it's kind of all over the place today, but we had a blast, I guess. Thanks for joining us as we recapped the Belgian Grand Prix. We're on summer break now, so our uploading schedule might be a little bit different when we have recording days and upload times. It'll still be Thursdays. We just don't know when just yet. We'll get to you on that soon. Well, without a doubt, though, next race we come back is my birthday. So I'll enjoy me a stroopwafel watching the boys race around Zandvoort. Yuki Tsunoda's already there. Um, Logan Sargent, I hope to see you and whatever your future plans are soon. I'm with you always. Carlos Sainz, we're dragging that Williams to the top step. Goodbye.
And we'll be there.
Bye.
Bye.